All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jared Morrison. I'm an organization development consultant with the Learning and Organizational Development Unit. Thank you all for joining us today. It's the beginning of our team engagement series. We've just been noticing in a lot of discussions that this is a topic that comes up at a variety of levels and no matter what kind of circles we're working with. So we thought it might be nice to offer a little mini series. And there's a lot of directions you can go with team engagement. So we picked to focus on collaboration, communication, and care as the three places that we will focus on. And so today we'll kick it off with collaboration. And without taking up too much more time, I'll pass it off. We have Debbie Lewis and Amy Kohmetscher from LOD who will take the lead today.
Thanks, Jared. I'll get us started off. We're going to begin with Box. So Buckeye Box is also how it's referred to across the org. Certainly it doesn't seem like a flashy product, but it can do some pretty cool stuff for you and your team engagement as far as documents are concerned. So I will share my screen and we will get started with some of the very basics, just logging in, and then we will, after we get through the basics, we'll show you some of those cool team engagement tools that you can utilize to collaborate. So this is box.osu.edu. This is our Buckeye Box login page, and you will need your Ohio State credentials, and it also is now protected by Duo or Buckeye Pass. And I already logged in once, so it kind of remembered my credentials here. When you log in, you'll also see a link that says not affiliated with Ohio State. That is an important button for your external collaborators to notice. If they work for an organization that provides a Box account, they can click that button, not affiliated with Ohio State, and then log in with their own university credentials to access Box and share files with you. So even though we have Buckeye Box at Ohio State, you can still share documents for other institutional partners with grants or other external projects. And free Box accounts are also available for external collaborators to use if they would like to engage with Box. So do not fear. Buckeye Box can also work for your external collaboration projects. So now that we've kind of just logged into the platform here, I'm going to move my stuff around so I can see a little better. If you've been working in Box for a while, there's going to be a lot of stuff here. If you haven't, it's going to be pretty empty. To get started with a new folder, you just I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This probably looks a little small to you all. And I see something in the chat already.
That was me, Amy.
Yes.
I was just going to ask if you could zoom.
Yes,
Thanks.
My monitor is larger than life, and I forget it kind of shrinks in Zoom. So anyway, can everybody see a little better now, hopefully, Jared?
Yeah, that's better? A little better.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So you'll click to create a new folder. You'll just click New. And in this drop-down box, there's some options, but I recommend taking a moment to step back and think about what this folder will hold. What is going to live here? Who are you going to share it with? Because if you've been working in Box, you may hear people groan, oh, another Box folder. And some of that's because we need to take a moment to think about the bigger picture to see where this folder will fit with others. So mindfully name your folders, and I'm not going to do that today because I'm just going to delete this later. So mindfully name your folder. And at this point, this dialog box also gives you the opportunity to invite additional people. So if I wanted to invite Debbie, I would type in her Ohio State email address and add her, and you can edit permissions. So this is editor. There's some other options here that we're not going to go through individually. This little learn more button here will highlight all the privileges that come with each role. So if you do have certain people that you don't want to edit or download certain content or whatever, you can change those permissions. So once you've established your invitees and your permissions, you click create, and it's going to drop a Box folder in the top here. And you can see I've got a ton of folders. So we're going to take a minute here to just kind of look at our options to find stuff. If you're looking for something recent, you can sort by the date. And this also helps if you're looking for something really dusty, because you can sort, oldest to newest. So you can click updated and sort it that way. You can search in the search files and folders, and it gives you some interesting filter options. You can also sort alphabetically by name. And if you want, you can also open up this all files, and it'll show the folders in sort of an alphabetical order. I created a demo folder for today. So now that we've kind of gone through that as far as finding the stuff, we'll click this folder and open it. And one more thing I want to point out, if this is going to be an active folder that you're going to be using a lot, there's this little star up here that you can favorite the folder, and then it'll kind of hang out on this left side for you to find for easy access later. And you can cycle these out as they're done. So like this course I haven't worked on in like a year. I can click the little X next to the title, and it simply removes it from favorites. It doesn't do anything scary, doesn't delete it. So that would be a good way to, kind of dashboard these folders that you're using a lot with your team, so you don't have to sort through all the things all the time. Let's see. So we've talked about how to create a new folder, how to sort, how to add people. So let's talk a little bit about adding files to these folders. There's a couple of options. So if you have existing files, you can either click this upload button in the upper right, and you can click add a file or add a folder. So by clicking add a file, it's going to prompt you to search your computer. And I'm not going to do that right now. And then if you add a folder, this is how you would add a subfolder. So again, this gets back to kind of thinking mindfully about how your documents will live in here. And then the other option that's my personal favorite, hopefully my dialog boxes follow you. Can you see the folder I just opened up on my screen from my hard drive? Okay, well, it got lost. Anyway, drag and drop. So I'm going to drag and drop a sample file here. And you just drag and drop it from like a folder explorer window on your computer. So drag and drop is kind of my favorite way to add.
So Amy, you had both open. You had your Windows
Yes.
Explorer file, window open, and then, or your file explorer, and then you just dropped it into Buckeye Box.
Yes, so open your files in your file explorer window, and then just grab it, drag and drop it. Yep. So thank you, Debbie, for helping me narrate, since we're a little bit blind with the windows. So those are the ways to add an existing file, which is pretty cool. But another thing I stumbled on is you can start a file from scratch. So if there's something that hasn't been made yet, but you talk to your teammates about creating a thing, you can actually click this new button in the upper right, and it'll allow you to actually generate a brand new Word document, PowerPoint, or Excel to work on with your team in this folder. So that's pretty cool. And you just create a document title and click create. And now this file will launch. I may need to switch my share. Did everybody see Word launch? Okay, I'm seeing some nodding. So this is actually how you can make Buckeye Box kind of a live collaboration tool. Obviously kind of the gold standard was Google Docs, but this is how we do this with our enterprise tools, is by creating new files and editing files from within Box. And I'm going to take a step back and show you how to edit an existing file from within Box. So let's pretend you want to work on this PowerPoint for a collaborative presentation. So you click to open the PowerPoint, And then in the upper right, you'll see this option that says open. If you click Microsoft PowerPoint Online, this will gain you access to your Ohio State online Microsoft 365 subscription. And you can open it through Microsoft 365 and make edits, and a new version will then be saved. So I'll make an edit to the title. And it will automatically be saved to Box. You'll see this saving and save to Box notation at the top. So that's pretty cool that you and your collaborators can be kind of working from the same space, and you can access this from pretty much any machine that you have issued to you by Ohio State, and any machine at home, really. Just be mindful of your data security as you access these things. So that is how you can edit existing files. And now that we've and it's prompting me to refresh because I updated the file. So now the preview is going to change. And I need to move your video pod again. Okay, so now that we've seen how to edit these live documents, let's say you wanted to tell your teammate that you made an edit. You can actually tag that teammate in a comment on the right-hand side of your screen, and figured out you need to type out their full name as it appears in Box, and then you can tag that person. And make a comment. And so this mention will actually email the person that they've been mentioned in a comment. So this is a nice way to use like short comments pertaining to a document. In a minute, we'll revisit another way to kind of keep more elaborate notes related to your projects. In addition to adding comments where you might want to tag a person, you can also add a task. So let's say that a person was responsible for slides 2 and 3. You can select an assignee and type in their name and add a message about what you want, and a due date is optional, and click create. And that'll create a task. And you can also create an approval task if a supervisor needs to see this. So that's a pretty neat option as well. The final thing I'm going to show you today, because we have just a little bit of time left in our Buckeye Box portion, is how to create a note that lives in a folder with your files. So when we're back in our folder, you'll see this like pencil icon, and that's write a quick note. And this actually gives you the opportunity to write some more elaborate notes. And you can, kind of keep a running log that way. And so this is how you save the notes. And you can also use notes to do some other things cool. If you go to this upper left hand and you see this new note button, you can click note from template, and it generates some pretty interesting options. Meeting agenda, calendar, project plan, project status. We don't have a lot of extra time today, but I invite you to explore these interesting collaboration options through offered through the notes, and see how those might work for your team as well. And once you're done with your note, it is automatically saved in the folder. You don't need to share it twice. So you can, it says it's saved in the lower right. So you can just go back to your folder, which is in a different tab, it appears. And it will save your notes for you. So that's basically what I have for you today. I see a few things in the chat. Have all the questions been addressed? Are there any other questions for me?
Amy, the one question. was about syncing. I don't know if you could maybe just touch on the difference between box and box sync. I don't know if you're prepared to mention that.
So I have limited knowledge of box sync, but you can set box up to sync like with your hard drive and kind of utilize box as sort of like a backup, or if you prefer to work on your hard drive and have those folders saved to box. What I don't know is if box does like all the things, or if you can set it to sync certain folders. I think you can set it to sync certain folders, but I would need to explore that some more.
So I do use box sync. I'm not super knowledgeable, but I do know that you can select by the folder level what is synced. And so mine, whether I'm updating it through box, like via or in my web browser, or if I'm updating it from my hard drive, the ones that I have selected to sync will auto sync to the others. So if I do it on my computer, if I go to box in a couple of minutes, it will be updated. And typically, if you have that set up, as it's syncing, there's like a little yellow icon next to the file that means it's in process of updating for both to match.
The other thing I wanted to mention here is there's actually Box Sync and Box Drive. And when I got my new computer, OCIO installed Box Drive on my computer, which is a completely separate application than Box Sync. It's much more intuitive. So if you don't have Box Drive on your computer, I would highly recommend you either contact OCIO because now all of your box folders, even those ones that are not synced to your hard drive, you can now open and view from your hard drive without having to actually log into a web browser and access Box. So it's just a phenomenal program. And like I said, OCIO automatically switched me over when I got my new computer last year. I'm gonna throw a link in the chat too, which kind of covers the differences between sync and drive, because I think there's a lot of confusion about those two things. So you can review that, and if you need help, just submit like a CFAES IT ticket.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, Diane, I think it was Diane mentioned in the chat box. Amy, I don't think you mentioned it, but if you use the open in Word Online, for example, or open in PowerPoint Online, two people can be editing the same document at the same time, and it saves both of your edits. If you, on the other hand, open it in Box, the other option that's up there, make sure you lock the file. That way somebody else isn't making edits at the same time that you're making edits. So if you use the open in online, Word Online, for example, two people can be editing at the same time. As long as you've given them the role of editor. If you've given them the role of viewer only, then they won't be able to edit.
One other thing to be mindful of as you're working in Box is kind of pay attention to what data elements you're working with. Box is approved for some pieces of S4 data, but a prime example I can think of that Box is not approved for would be like health data for 4-Hers or something that you might collect for a camp. So be mindful of the data, and you know, if you need help figuring out what data elements you're working with, I can grab a couple links for you here. The cybersecurity group put together a really nice data calculator that you can actually just select the elements you're working with, and it'll tell you how it's classified. So you don't have to read through buckets of policy and tables to figure it out. You can just kind of put in your options and check boxes and click calculate. So I really like that data calculator if you're not sure if it's safe to use some data in a service.
Okay. Any other questions about Box before I take over? All right, so I'm going to show you a few things about using Outlook and how you can collaborate with team members. So give me just a second so I can open up my chat box again so I can see you guys. Okay. So can everybody see Outlook? Jared? Okay. So I've created another folder over here on the side so you guys don't see my tons and tons of emails that I have. I'm one of the people that doesn't use a lot of folders for sorting my emails, whereas Jared, I know, is a big folder user. So he pretty much takes everything out of his inbox and puts it into separate folders. So I'm just going to show you a few things about how you can search. So up here, can you see, okay, should I increase the size? Should I try to increase the size? That'll help, I don't know. All right, so if I want to like search for emails from Amy, for example, I can start typing in her name, and then I can do, it says over here current folder, so you can see I'm in my Outlook training folder. So if I change this drop down from current folder to current mailbox, it'll search all of my folders. So it's searching my sent box, it's searching my my inbox, it's searching all the folders that I have because it's searching my mailbox. So if I want to refine this a little bit and say only emails from Amy, instead of Amy emails where Amy may have been mentioned, I can put on that from in front of her name. Then I can also, if I'm searching for maybe a file that she may have sent me, I can click on this has attachments up here, and it will show you all the emails that Amy has sent to me that have attachments to it. So if I'm looking for something specific from a team member that has attachments, et cetera, then those are different ways that I can search. You can also clear out your search. The other thing I wanted to show you was ways that you can sort the email before it even gets to your inbox. For example, I've had my email address since 1993. So this, for a long time, this was the only email address I had. So I have set up, for example, a rule in my inbox so that anything that comes into my inbox that has the word unsubscribe in it, it automatically goes into a folder, and I typically don't even see it or don't even look at it because I know it's just some, you know, advertisement for something. But if I want to set up another rule so that all of the emails, examples from my team members, go into a folder over here in my inbox, I can set up a rule for that. So I come over here to the File tab in Outlook, and I can click on Rules and Alerts, and you'll see some rules that I already have set up. Here's that unsubscribe that I just told you about. But I'm going to set up a new rule. So I'm going to set up a rule that moves a message from someone into another folder. So I'm going to just leave it on this selection up here at the top. There's other things that you can do as well, but this is the one I'm going to focus on right now because I want all of my, for example, emails from the LOD team to go into a folder. So if I clicked on the next button, now it'll let me identify from people or a public group. And if I click here down at the bottom, I can open up this from people. So I can type in Amy's name here. And she's pretty much the only one around that's spelled this way. So that's why I'm using her as an example. So once I click on her name up here at the top, I have to click this little button that says from. So that's telling the system that any emails that are coming in from Amy will go into this folder. This rule will be applied. This rule will be applied to any emails from Amy. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click on the next button. So I want it to go into a specified folder. So I'm going to click here where it says specified folder, and then I'm going to have them go into this Outlook training folder that I've created. Usually it's best if you create the folder before you create the rule. I'm going to go ahead and click on next. And then there's a bunch of different things you can, exceptions, for example, that you can apply. So if, for example, on my unsubscribe rule, I have added things like if an email has Qualtrics in the URL or the email address, then I make sure that it goes into my inbox and not into that unsubscribe. So there's different rules that I've applied, or if it's from a certain person, then I've created some exceptions, and you can do that from this panel right here. So I'm going to click on next, and then I'm going to turn this rule on, and I'm going to run this rule. I'm not going to run it on messages that are already in my inbox, because I really don't want all of Amy's emails to end up in my new folder that I've created. But typically, if you want to do that, you can do that. So this is going to, from now on, it's going to put any emails from Amy into this Outlook training folder. So I clicked on finish, and then I'm going to click on apply. And my rule is called Amy Kohmetscher. I can rename that if I want to. The button has grayed out, so it should be finished, applying that rule, and then I click OK. So now when I go back to my inbox over here, and if Amy happens to send me an email, it should go directly into this Outlook training folder the next time she sends me an email. So I wanted to also show you a few things about your calendar. So two things I have in this Outlook training folder already are a calendar invitation from T, and then I also have an email that I want to show you how I can add it to my calendar from the email. So when you get somebody's calendar appointment, you guys probably already know this, but there's several different actions that you can do. If you click on this little green check mark over here, you can edit a response before sending. You can send a response now. I typically click on this do not send a response, because T knows that I'm accepting appointments that she's putting on my calendar. So I don't want to clutter up her inbox with a, hey, Debbie just accepted this appointment. So that's what I usually click on, is this do not send a response. But your mileage may vary. And then you'll notice that that the email, the calendar invitation email, just went away from the folder. So what this does is it puts it in your deleted items folder. So if you're ever looking for a calendar appointment, I know somebody sent something to me, I rejected it, and I should have rejected it, I should not have rejected it, or whatever, then you can find it in your deleted folder. Now here's another one. I don't know, Amy, did you try to send me an email yet?
I didn't want to interrupt what you were doing with the ding.
You can do that. It doesn't matter. It can just pop in there. I just want to make sure the rule's working. Of course, you can prove that my rule is not working. Oh, look, there it is. Okay, there's my email test. So now anytime Amy sends me an email, it's going to go into this Outlook training. I can go back into those rules and turn that off. I can also go back into those rules and edit the rule. Now I want to show you how to take an email from your inbox or one of your folders and add it to your calendar. So this is a meeting that I'm supposed to attend. That's a monthly briefing about the NIFA plan of work. System, that's the word I'm looking for. So you can see here, it's every 4th Wednesday of the month for 5 times. So this is another team that I work on. So I need to collaborate with them, and I need to make sure I get these appointments on my calendar. But she is from NIFA, so she doesn't have like access to my calendar to send me a calendar invite. And Evan is distracting me now because he's adorable. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the email, and I'm gonna watch what I do here. I'm gonna drag it over down here to the bottom, see my calendar icon, and see how my mouse turns into a plus symbol. Now, when I let go of my mouse, you guys didn't see it, so I'll drag it into the screen, but a calendar appointment automatically opens up. So this is super cool. Just remember that it automatically opens to the date and time as of right now. So I need to update this. This needs to be June 24th is my first one. And I can't remember what time she said it starts. Okay, so it says 2 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm gonna put 2 o'clock. And this is usually an hour-long meeting, so I'm gonna change this to an hour. Now what I usually do for location I'll come down in here and I will find the Zoom link. And all I did was right click, and I'm just going to paste it up here in the location, because Outlook doesn't really like it if you save a calendar appointment without a location. So that's typically what I do. I put the link in there, and that's showing up really ugly. So I'm going to do it this way. So I just did Control-C on my keyboard and Control-V for paste. Oh, that's prettier. That's not so ugly. Now, this is a recurring meeting, right? It said the 4th Wednesday of every month. So I'm going to click on this little recurrence button.
Could you take a moment to reshare your screen? It's got us locked into your email window. So they're not.
Okay, are you not seeing my calendar? All right.
Yeah, we're not seeing the calendar invite.
Thank you. Thank you for the warning. Okay. So, well, let me do that again. Not what I wanted. There. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. It's catching up. Now we have, now we have a calendar appointment. Okay.
Okay. So what I was talking about is this calendar appointment opened up. I changed the date because it automatically opens up to today's date and today's time. So I just clicked on the little calendar here and I changed it to June 24th, which is the first one. And then I changed the time to 2 o'clock because it says down here in the body of the email, it gives me the time of the meeting. And then the other thing I did was I copied and pasted this URL, the Zoom link, into the location. Because as I was saying, calendar appointments don't really like it. Outlook doesn't like it if you save a calendar appointment without a location on it. Then I was going to come up here and click on the recurrence. Everybody still with me? Okay. So clicking on recurrence, I know this is going to be the 4th Wednesday of every month. So I'm going to come over here for my pattern and I'm going to select monthly. And then I'm going to select, it already knows, Outlook is kind of smart. So it gives me the option of either, if it's a monthly, I can say either the 24th day of every month, or I'm going to select here because I know it's supposed to be the 4th Wednesday of every month. And then I know also that this is going to end after 5 times. So I'm going to change this end after from 10 to 5. And then I'm going to say, okay. So this calendar appointment, once I save it, will now be on my calendar for the next, 5 months on the 4th Wednesday of every month. I also like to categorize. So I've created some categories here. I'm going to go ahead and mark this as business. Also, when you're setting up calendar appointments, you can select something as private if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and click save and close this so it will appear on my calendar.
You're going to need to reshare again once you
I
save
will.
and close.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to go back to my Outlook. All right. So everybody seeing that again?
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to show you here about your calendars is you can stop. You can right click here on your calendar icon and say open a new window. And yes, I realize I'm going to have to do a new share. So hang with me for a second. So I'm going to click on open a new window. That way it leaves my inbox open in one window on my computer and it opens the calendar in a new window. I like to have both things open. Because then I can view both of them at the same time. And I'm assuming you can't see my calendar right now.
Nope.
How about now?
There it is.
Is that better? Okay, so this is my calendar. So I wanted to show you a few things about using your calendar. So I've already accepted T's appointment, so that is for an appointment for next week, calendar appointment. So you can see that right here is the appointment that I accepted with T. And then if I go to the next week, you can see here's that new calendar appointment for that plan of work briefings. So coming back to this week, I can also click on today, and that will take me back to this week. I want to show you some ways that you can collaborate with your team members as well. It's a really good idea to make sure that you share with your team members your calendar and like give them permissions to view your calendar so they can set up appointments with you, et cetera, et cetera. So first I want to try to come over here and I'll show you how you can open anyone's calendar in the organization just by clicking on this icon up at the top. It says Open Calendar. And then I'm going to come down here at the bottom and say Open Shared Calendar. And then Dawn is the newest team member of LOD. So I'm going to type in Dawn's email. So she's brown.1283. There's a lot of Browns in the system, so it's good to know their name.number in this example. So here we can see that I have either her Buckeye Mail option or I have her regular OSU option. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the OSU version. So this is going to open up Dawn's calendar over here on the right-hand side. So you can see that I can see busy and not busy times for hers, whereas I have a lot more detail on mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my calendar with Dawn so that she can see my appointments. Because right now, if Dawn trying to open up my calendar, all she would see is busy or not busy. And I want her to be able to see more detail than that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this icon here and the share calendar. And then I'm going to type in Dawn's email. I'm going to start with this because I will get her faster. There she is. And I think I also haven't shared my calendar with Shalise yet. So I'm going to go ahead and throw her in here too. Then I'm going to change this so they can see details of my calendar. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, oh, sure, I'm going to request permission to see theirs as well. So this is going to generate an email both to Dawn and to Shalise. And when I click on send, they'll see emails and they'll be able to accept the invitation and be able to view my calendar. So that's one way to share with your other team members. So for example, if I come up here and I look at Jared's, for example, I can see Jared's calendar. And let's see, I can go ahead and open Amy's. Again, not a lot of people with the name spelled that way, so it's a lot faster just to type in part of her name. So I know how to spell the first part of her name. The last part gets a little fuzzy for me. Now, if I wanted to set up a meeting between everybody, I can click on this schedule view. And this will give me a view where up here at the top, if I want to set up an appointment, it will show me at the top when people are available. So you can see right here for, let's see, what day is this? Monday, June 15th, we're all available at 10 a.m. because there's no line right here, okay? So that's one way to set up an appointment with several people. And then if you want to add more people to this view, you can pick on other people where you have open shared calendars. So over here on the left-hand side, if it will close this little thingy here, there we go. You can see the people that I have shared calendars for. Okay, so that's one way to look at other, look to see if you can schedule an appointment. All right, what else did I want to show you about calendars? I think I already showed you calendar permissions, etc. So if you want to see who has permissions for your calendar and what level of permission they have, you can click on this little calendar permissions icon and it will open up another window and show you that. You can also add items to your calendar that are private. For example, today's my wedding anniversary, but you can see there's a little lock right here. So that doesn't show to anybody else. It just says private appointment on their calendar. So you can keep some things on your calendar that are private. Well, that's no longer private, but because I just shared it with everybody. So anyway, all right. So now I'm going to go back to my inbox and show you a few things about insights. And yes, I know I need to do a new share. All right, can you guys see my, my Outlook training folder again?
Yes.
Okay, so over here in the upper right-hand thing, the corner, not thing, you see the button that says Insights. This is really, really cool. And some of you may have been getting emails from Insights and just don't know what they are. I know I have been, and I haven't really clicked on them and explored yet. But there's some really neat stuff that you can find in here, especially when it comes to collaboration with your team members, okay? So one of the first things I wanted to show you is you can add important people. So if I click here for add important people, it's going to give me a list of people that I email a lot with. So I'm going to go ahead and mark some of these people as important. Yes, Brian is important. Danae is important, Amy K. So I'm marking my team members right now, not necessarily everybody that I've gotten emails. Yes, these other people are just as important. However, I'm just trying to mark my team members because we're talking about team collaboration today. I'm going to click back up here on the Insights button, so that, again, it will bring me up this menu. And if anybody knows how to get back to this panel here without clicking on the Insights button again, please give me some insight. Sorry, corny joke. I cracked myself up. All right, so the other thing I wanted to show you is view outstanding tasks, because what Outlook will do, it will create some suggested tasks for you. So if I click on View Outstanding Tasks, it will go through my emails and it will look for things that Outlook thinks are tasks. So for example, I've been testing some online EETs for people that I've been setting up. So these aren't really tasks, but they were, because I did go in and test to make sure that they were working. So I'm going to go ahead and click Mark as Done for this one up here. I'm going to mark this one as done. This was another test. This one is the email from Debbie Dunn. She was asking me for the Qualtrics upgrade code. I already sent that to her. That's all taken care of. Same thing here. So it will give you some ideas of what are tasks that need to be done. So clicking back on Insights again. So that's a little bit about View Outstanding Tasks. Then I can also click on Follow Up on My Request. So if I sent an email to somebody that Outlook thinks had a task for someone else to do, I can click here and it will show me, okay, I emailed Suzanne and asked something about the EHE Qualtrics Division Administrator and then setting up a group, a user group for them on the EHE version of Qualtrics. So you can see the emails that I've sent, and it's just seeing if I have followed up with these. I can mark them as done. For example, I already followed up with Kathy and answered her question, so I can mark this as done. And then it brings up more. So I'm going to click up on Insights again. And then you can also, another one that's really cool here is, let me see if it shows up here. It's still thinking. Ah, here it is. It's up higher. Another one is prepare for meetings. So Outlook, again, is looking at my calendar. It's saying, okay, you have some meetings coming up next week. You might need to prepare for these meetings. So it's giving me suggested things that I might need to prepare for. So this is another good way of trying to manage your teams and your collaboration by looking at the meetings that you have coming up and seeing what you might need to prepare for. Now, Insights also has a dashboard. The first time I clicked on Insights, my option was to view the dashboard. Just a fair warning, it opens up in Microsoft Edge, which I really don't care for. I tried to open it up in Firefox and it would not work in Firefox. So finally, I just switched to Chrome, and it does work in Chrome. So let me share that here with you real quick. And this is the last thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to do that. Okay. Can everybody see? Welcome to my analytics, Debbie Lewis. Okay. So the dashboard will show you several different groups. You have focus, you have well-being, you have network, collaboration. So I wanted to focus on a couple of these down here that have to do with networking. So if I click on that tile, I can look at my network, and it will show me my active people. So it will say I have 93 active, 464 total, and it will kind of give me this little web. It's kind of cool. It just shows you the types of, you know, the people that you've been interacting with and emailing with. Then down here, you can also see my section of my important contacts. So you can see the list of people here. Some of these people I just added. Some of them were already in my important contacts. So this is a nice way to view what it is that you've been doing, kind of like your productivity, et cetera. And then on the collaboration one, it will show you what you've been doing as far as emails, meetings, phone calls, and chats. And it's counting 0 chats and calls. Well, that's not true. It's just not, I'm not using a Microsoft product for chats or calls. So it'll also give you meeting attendance, meeting habits, and tell you, you know, these are high attended meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And it talks a little bit about your communication habits as well. For example, over here on the right-hand side, meeting notice. Last week, you sent several calendar invitations to your colleagues at the last minute. Well, yes, that's because I've discovered recently in Zoom that if I open up my personal Zoom room and I send someone an invitation, it doesn't actually show up on my calendar. Whereas if I schedule a meeting, even if it's someone I'm chatting with at the moment, live, it will put it on my calendar. So I like using the schedule meeting option for Zoom to chat with people. So that's a whirlwind about Outlook and how you can collaborate with your teams. I hope that was a little bit helpful. Does anybody have questions? Did I miss questions in the chat? Oh, thank you for the congratulations. Let's see. Oh, I did want to share real quick the URL for the My Analytics. So I'll put that in the chat box. So you should be able to just log in there using your OSU credentials and be able to view that. Otherwise, just open up Outlook, click on that Insights tab, little button at the top, and you should be able to see that panel open up. So any questions for me or Amy? Can you disable the junk folder? I've never had actual junk go there, only things I wanted. So the way I usually manage my junk folder, that just sounds wrong, but let me do a share real quick. So do you guys know that you can go to your junk folder and let's see if I can find mine. Here it is, junk email. Okay. So if I wanted to, if I say this should not be a junk email, you can right click on something and say, come down here to the junk and say, never block this sender, okay? Those are some options. You can also just move it. And I have no idea what's in my junk folder, so please don't judge. Anyway, so turning off the junk folder, though, is not usually a good idea. What I like to do is I come in here and I check it, you know, kind of like once a month or so, not once a month, once a week. And I just keep an eye on my junk folder and make sure nothing important is going in there. I really do like using the calendar, the rules for Outlook emails, and that seems to help me a lot. I end up with a lot less things in my junk email. Any other questions for about Outlook or Buckeye Box?
And while people are thinking, I just want to say thank you very much to Debbie and Amy both. I think those are tools that a lot of us use daily, but we don't always know all of these tips and tricks. So I think that was kind of our main purpose today, was to show people how to fully use these tools that we're familiar with, but not all the tricks. So thanks so much for that. We appreciate you going through those, and we think this will really help your teams. We do have 2 more sessions in our team engagement series. So we do have next Friday, we have focus on communication. And then on Friday, June 26th, we'll focus on care for your team. So please bookmark this room. They'll be in the same link, and we'll see you on those next couple of Fridays. Thanks, everybody.